The majority of boxing fans that I see who have been talking about this fight, uploaders, subscribers, they seem to be very excited for this fight. They seem to think that this is a competitive fight. Now, it's your opinion. That's cool, but I don't see what you guys see. You know, you got some uploaders that are acting as if this is a fight between two young guys. You got some uploaders acting as if, you know, Lucas Browne is better than people think he is. Listen, guys, that's your opinion. I'm not gonna knock you guys on this, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't think this is a competitive fight. I mean, let's think about this for a second. Lucas Browne has fought once in the past 2 years, and it was against a bum by the name of Matthew Greer. In his last fight, where he fought someone with a post, he fought a washed-up Ruslan Chagaev. He went life and death with Ruslan Chagaev. He was getting beat up in that fight. He got dropped at least twice. He was hurt. He was behind in that fight. He was losing that fight. Now, Ruslan Chagaev was like 38 years old. He was washed up. Now, back then I wasn't making videos, obviously, but when that fight was announced, I remember when that fight was announced, Ruslan Chagaev versus Lucas Browne, right? And when that fight was announced back, 2 years ago, I remember thinking to myself, oh, Browne's gonna win this fight because Ruslan Chagaev's old, he's washed up, and he's a little dude. He's like a short heavyweight. He's 6 feet tall, and I felt like he was at the end of his career. And he was fighting guys like, that bum. I always forget his name, man. I'm sorry. The guy that he defended his belt against. But I leading up to that fight, I felt that Lucas Browne should win. But to my surprise, he won the fight. Don't get me wrong, but he struggled and he looked bad in that fight. He looked like shit. So since then, he's fought once against, like I said, a bum, and he's been very inactive. Very inactive. So let's think logically about this. Lucas Browne is going into the Dillian Whyte fight being very inactive, being 39 years old, and struggling against a washed-up 38-year-old Ruslan Chagaev in his last fight, in his last competitive fight. Dillian Whyte has been way more active than Lucas Browne. Dillian Whyte has been in there with guys in a way higher level in the past 2 years than Lucas Browne. Derek Chisora, Robert Helenius, Anthony Joshua. These guys, are better than anyone that what's his name, Lucas Browne has ever fought. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? So again, like, that's why I don't understand why a lot of these you uploaders are acting like this is a competitive fight. Lucas Browne is in the same position that Browne was when he fought Deontay Wilder. When Browne fought Deontay Wilder in the rematch, Browne was the same age of Lucas Browne, 39, and he had fought once against a bum, and he was, coming off like a 2-year layoff. And when Wilder knocked him out, nobody gave Wilder credit. They, crucified him. They said, oh, of course he was going to win. Browne was inactive, and he fought twice. I mean, he's fought once in 2 years. So why did you guys, bash Wilder? But you're not saying anything. You're not saying, well, this is not a competitive fight because, Lucas Browne is inactive and he's old and he hasn't fought in 2 years. And Dillian Whyte's active, so of course Dillian Whyte's gonna win. The only guy out there that I see that is actually talking sense when it comes to this fight is Hatman Strikes Back. Shout out to Hatman Strikes Back. He's like the only one who I guess could see the fact that Lucas Browne has been inactive. He seems to be the only one who At least the only, uploader that I've seen, that I'm subscribed to at least. He seems to be the only one that I'm subscribed to that, that talks about the fact that Lucas Browne, looked terrible against Ruslan Chagaev, a washed up Ruslan Chagaev. And if he looked like shit against Ruslan Chagaev, how is he, and against a guy who's washed up like that, how do you think he's supposed to fare against a guy like Dillian Whyte who's in his prime? Again, Handman Strikes Back is literally the only channel that I'm subscribed to that I've seen that is actually talking, who's actually being realistic. And I actually agree 100% with Handman. The only way I see Lucas Browne winning is if he is able to catch and knock out Dillian Whyte. Okay? I believe that, just like I said, I agree with Hammond. I believe that him being inactive, him being, 39 years old now, him, looking like trash and against a washed up Ruslan Chagaev, all these things let me know that Lucas Browne is not no world beater. If he was a world beater, he wouldn't have struggled against Ruslan Chagaev like that. He wouldn't have. So this is why I'm leaning towards Dillian Whyte. And I'm not counting out the fact that Lucas Browne could knock out Dillian Whyte. He could knock him out because this is the heavyweight division, A. B, Dillian Whyte, he was rocked. He has been rocked before. He got rocked in his last fight against Robert Helenius. But another thing I agree with Hatman is the fact that Lucas Browne, I think he's chinny, in my opinion. Well, Hatman didn't say he was chinny, but he suspected that he has not the best punch resistance. I personally think he's chinny because, this guy was getting dropped, hard. Like, he was getting dropped heavily against Ruslan Chagaev. Ruslan Chagaev, he's never been like a monster puncher. So if he's knocking, Browne down, I don't think Whyte is the biggest puncher, but I think if Whyte is able to land, flush, I think you're going to see Lucas Browne down. I just don't see this as a competitive fight. I don't. I see this again as a fight between a young lion like Dillian Whyte versus an old, inactive fighter. And again, the only way I see Browne winning is if he catches him. Because I do think he's a bigger puncher, but besides that, I don't see him winning. I just don't think he has the youth on his side, and I don't think he has the skills. That's why I don't understand why the majority of you guys across the pond are acting like this is a competitive fight. Why can't you see that? Why can't you see the fact that he's been inactive for 2 years? Why can't you see the fact that, he looked like shit against a washed up Ruslan Chagaev? But you guys just want to sugarcoat that and act like, oh no, this is he hasn't been inactive for 2 years, Man, whatever, man. It's just my opinion, guys, at the end of the day.